behind Dieselgate is not what they said is true. Seeing Volkswagen wanted to sell more cars in America regarding diesel. In America, the only things which are diesel are pickup trucks and lorries, basically. And obviously, the Volkswagen doesn't even cover 1% of the car markets in North America. What was really behind it was probably the ruin European car industry, inventing a thing which didn't exist. Seeing how they measure so-called pollutions is different from European standards. The fact is, when you touch a computer in any type of garage, it precisely will perform to the specs which has been required, or that type of standard or whatever, which is impossible. Because more severe restrictions, that means engines wear out before time, and plus it drinks more fuel with a new generation of engines which came 10 years afterwards. You know, the 3-cylinder PureTech, Wet Belt, and even the GM and even our car makers do these things as well these days. It's to push the narrative of electric vehicles. And the technology of electric vehicles has been around since when the petrol has been around. The problem is, the seven sisters of the petrol companies, they pushed car makers towards petrol engines. In the end, it was more economical source of fuel, pretty efficient. They say you have more power in a key cup of petrol than any other type of form of fuel. And this time round, with Tesla, Elon Musk appearing on the scene, which took over the Tesla company, which he didn't found it, he bought it, with the money of Obama to push this so-called agenda of electric cars. And the government at that time was forcing car makers in America to invest billions in electric cars. Obviously giving these Tesla cars to notorious stars like politicians or football players, singers and stuff like this. It's all pushing the narratives to change narrative. For 100 years it's okay, it was petrol and diesel vehicles. No, they want electric because let's say it's big business. And the fact is, with the thingy bobs, the cars, then pushing the narrative of electric cars is not because it's got something to do with ecology and stuff like that. CO2 and that stuff is bullshit. They're just invented because they want to limit your liberties. your freedom to travel depend on the centralised state with robot cars or robot taxis, because slowly they want to eliminate private ownership of cars. You just check out Agenda 2030. Not just cars, houses as well. So they spent billions of producing EVs, and it just was a disastrous operation, because these vehicles for normal people, your average Joe and Jane, it's too expensive. Within the insanity of the EU, for 20,000 euro you buy a K car. Then you got the competitors from China, which are the form of propulsion. They sell you a decent car, a lot less than the price than the European competitors. This is just destroying European car makers and all those so-called other type of economies around it. So we're in a limbo of whether the European Union comes to the common sense to let these two technologies, the markets, decide for themselves instead of being manually imposed something which we don't want, too expensive, unreliable. That should be the markets, the consumers. See what the pundits they want. By pushing down a narrative, you must buy an EV because to save the planet is just a load of bullshit. Because in the end, you won't own nothing and you'll be miserably poor as well. That's the slogan of these globalists. And with the advent of the Euro 7 and Euro 8 cars, the so-called transit period, they're going to make you taste of a future society. Everything you have to have on leasing or rent, you won't actually own any more anything. This is their real intent. And you'd be bummed up in these 15-minute cities and so on. So Dieselgate has served to change the narrative, inventing a problem which didn't exist, and as usual, fools fell for it, as always.